Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Still with you and tonight's edition of the Daily Debate. We're now delighted to be joined over the telephone by our guest, Dr. Saeed Kholy, the Professor of Economics from Ain Shams University. Dr. Saeed, it's a very good evening to you, sir.
Good evening, ma'am.
Thank you very much, sir, for
and
your
happy
time.
Ramadan.
Likewise, Doctor, thank you very much. And let me start, Doctor, by asking you about, the recent developments with regards to the economic measures that have been implemented by the state. Recently, the Prime Minister, Dr. Mustafa Madbouli, praised the positive outcomes of the economic measures that have been taken by the state. How do you read this in light, of the fact that in recent times the economic landscape in Egypt has witnessed quite a transformative evolution, if you were to say so?
Regardless, for whatever it happened in the last few days, Egyptian economy is strong. Egypt is a very big country. They have a lot of assets and we have a lot of resources, especially the natural resources in many areas in Egypt, especially Sinai. So the Egyptian economy, it will really go through whatever it happened during the last few weeks or 3 months from invasion and so on, and the exchange rate and the correction action taken by the central bank of Egypt. It's in the right direction, and we see the result of that. Models, for example, turned now Egypt in the positive side, not in the negative side. And in the future, we'll see a lot of development, especially industrial development in Egypt, and we'll see the result of that in the very near future. And this, it will really reduce the inflation rate in Egypt, and it will reduce the exchange rate for Egyptian pound. It will balance in the very near future. Of course, we have several resources, and we invest in our resources. I believe we should really take our consideration very seriously in the next year or the next month, investing in our natural resources, especially in mineral industry. The more we build industry based on our natural resources, the more income and the more export it will be for Egypt, and the more hard currency it will go for Egyptian economy.
Very good indeed, Dr. Saeed. Now, during the weekly cabinet meeting, we've seen Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli announcing that the remittances from the Egyptian expatriates are gradually now returning to their usual levels. How do you read this in light of some of the economic measures implemented by the state recently? And what does this mean to have, the Egyptian expatriates returning their money to Egypt?
Egyptian expatriates really it reduced a large sum of the Egyptian economy for the currency they transfer to their account in Egypt. It is value added for Egypt, and we've seen based on remember hard currency, it's economy, gold is economy, and when the people play or gamble with the economy, we see the high inflation. We saw a lot of increase in the exchange rate, in the black market, and so on. And that is, it affects our economy in the negative way.
Right.
Therefore, when we have the Central Bank of Egypt and the government with His Excellency Dr. Mustafa Madbouli made it the exchange rate close to the reality, it became more and more transfer of money from our expatriates. It comes to our economy and so on. I believe in the near future, the black market, it would disappear from the market, and really an economy inside our economy, it is not economy. So Egypt had only one economy, the government economy, which we have to all work together in order to stand behind our government and behind our leadership in order to make the Egyptian economy stable again. I believe whatever it happened from measurement from the government, from the Central Bank of Egypt, we'll see in the short run a huge stability in the currency rate and in our economy.
Indeed. Dr. Said, as you said, over the last years or so, we've seen huge efforts exerted by the president, the leadership, as well as the government with regards to pushing Egypt towards, the ranks of developed countries, attaining successive achievements. What specific, positive outcomes have emerged as a result of the government's focus on economic reforms, as well as some policy and legislation adjustments and changes, respectively?
We have the economic reform, but we are asking now for managerial reform in order to really best use our natural resources. I believe I mentioned that in your program several times. We should look for how to best utilize our natural resources. I give example for example, in Sinai, we have all natural resources available. So instead of investing in industry, which we depend in importing 6 to 80% from the raw materials and build our industry based on that, and due to the war between Russia and Ukraine and the effect in supply chain and the effect in logistics based on whatever happened in the Red Sea right now, and now the logistic avenue it switched from Suez Canal to another route. It cost the multinational company 10 times what they used to pay when they go through Suez Canal. Of course, the location of Egypt is a competitive advantage. Our natural resources is competitive advantage. Our labor resources is competitive advantage. So my advice is to really focus on our natural resources and build industry based on our natural resources in order to overcome any obstacle for the Egyptian economy in the future. So depending on our natural resources, so we can really build the industry based in the natural resources which we already have, instead of exporting raw materials, we should export final product and so on. And that is the dilemma. So the problem now, it's not an economical issue, it's a managerial issue, how to manage our material and how to manage our natural resources. That is, it will be the plus in the future.
Absolutely. And Dr. Said, we've also seen the government taking many steps to encourage investors to come to Egypt and invest, also providing lots of assistance, subsidies, as well as, the new investment laws and the policy adjustments, the legislative changes and the new laws that have been introduced. How do these work to, encourage investors to come to Egypt?
Attracting foreign direct investment, we need three major things. Number one is stability. So the leader of Egypt in the last 10 years, to be exact, it is a stable environment. So that's one measure. And the way we develop new investment law, it is really get away from the red tape and the process where President Sisi issues the gold medal to license the new coming investment. That's a plus. Another thing which is very important, it is the location of Egypt, where we have Suez Canal in the Red Sea and the Mediterranean Sea. I believe Egypt, it will be the hub for industrial, for Russia and for China to be able to use our location in order to build a base in that, and that it will attract more and more foreign direct investment. I believe in the last few days, a lot of Chinese and Russian manufacturing companies will be able to operate in Egypt because of the ease of transportation from Egypt as a hub to Europe and to Africa and to the Middle East.
Yes.
And of course, we have the cheapest labor force in the region, so that is another competitive force. So we should utilize our competitive forces in order to be competitive in the future and give all foreign direct investment all means to facilitate their, to establish their facility in Egypt. The foreign direct investment, as I mentioned, need excess supply, and we have the excess supply of power supply. We have the logistics, which we have the new road, thousands of miles now operated in Egypt, and tunnel and bridges, and the logistics in the Suez Canal considered to be the cheapest way to transform product from the whole world to the other part of the world.
Absolutely.
And we really should really work hard and very hard in order to provide the foreign direct investment and even the local investment, give them all different facilitation in terms of process, in terms of security, in order of and another mean of transferring their profit abroad and so on. And I believe the Center of Bank of Egypt give the all guarantees to the foreign direct investment and come to invest in Egypt. I believe in the near future we'll see more and more and more foreign direct investment come to Egypt, plus local investors from our neighbor Gulf states and so on.
Indeed. Finally, Dr. Said, let me ask you, how do you see the Egyptian government's attention to the issue of developing human resources, along with, building the impact on the Egyptian economy and the link, supporting human capital and sustainable development, which is the end goal?
When you talk about sustainable development, in order to operate a manufacturing sector with a high level of technology, I remember 3 years ago, President Sisi talked about fourth industrial revolution. And fourth industrial revolution needs a lot of training. And when we issued the National Academy for Training in Egypt, it really helped the labor force is to get to know the state-of-the-art technology and artificial intelligence and the Internet of Things in order to be able to operate with the new fourth industrial revolution. And now we are talking about the fifth industrial revolution. So university and all research institutions in Egypt, they have developed their curriculum to be able to deal with the fourth and fifth industrial revolution in order to be able to build capacity building for our human resources. I believe it's a human capital is very important. Investing in human, it is a plus side for Egyptians to attract more and more and more foreign direct investment. That is the dilemma, and as I told you in the beginning, that is a managerial issue, not an economical issue.
Absolutely right. I'd like to thank you very, very much, Dr. Sayed Kholy, Professor of Economics, St. James University. Thank you so much, Doctor, for your insights and for joining us on tonight's edition of the Daily Debate. Ladies and gentlemen, a short break. We bring you a report on the latest Moody's ratings that have announced an upgraded outlook for Egyptian banks. Let's take a look and we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Credit rating company Moody's Ratings has revised the outlook on Egypt to positive amid economic measures, including the flotation of the Egyptian local currency and an increase in interest rates. Moody's Ratings has announced its upgraded outlook for 5 of Egypt's banks in response to the Central Bank of Egypt's latest policy measures and fresh injection of foreign currency into the country. According to a release by the agency, the change in outlook to positive reflects the very large foreign direct investment contribution and the market change in economic policy, with an increase in interest rates that will help Egypt maintain an upsized IMF program. Moody's noted that the maintaining of these factors would enhance the economy's resilience to global challenges. In the release, Moody's shared its optimism for the local banking sector, highlighting that the deal's foreign currency injection and latest policy measures will have a positive impact on the wider banking sector. Moody's views the CBE's new rate hike as a step towards neutral monetary policy, noting that these actions would help create a proper environment for the private sector and foreign investments. In this regard, Moody's praised the Egyptian bank's resilient financial profiles, strong local currency liquidity, and the sector's stable profitability. Credit rating company Moody's Ratings hailed the company's transition toward a managed float system and the adoption of an inflation targeting regime as important measures to foster official remittance inflows and incentive foreign investment ones.